This is Jason Phillips, driver of the 55 Big Ass Fans Mercedes, and you're listening to the Midwest Motorsports Cooldown Lap.
Thanks for that intro, Jason. Welcome to the cooldown lap, guys. It's another Monday evening, December 2nd of 2024, and we're back after the Thanksgiving break. I hope everybody had some awesome time with family. If you didn't, hopefully you got a turkey. If you didn't do that, hopefully you enjoyed your time off. I'm joined here tonight with James Johnson, the voice of Midwest Motorsports, along with Adam Sondag, one of our broadcast members. James, man, we'll start with you. How was your Thanksgiving break?
Man, I have about one more day's worth of leftovers. Of course, we always have more than enough food for everybody, and everybody gets to take home some. So, still got little mashed potatoes and gravy and some deep fried turkey left. But after that, it's back to normal eating for me. It was great times with my family. I hope everybody out there had a good one too.
Yeah, Adam, how'd Thanksgiving treat you, man?
Pretty low key. Pretty low key. Mom had me rub down the bird. We're on a breast only bird in the oven, but I rub her down with some fat, season that thing. It's a new tradition in my family. We season the bird. Kind of a unilateral decision by me. Pretty good though. Pretty good, for a low key meal, just family and grandma. Pretty good dish.
Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna put you on the spot here, James, and I'll work on you here, Adam. But James, when it comes to Thanksgiving, what's your favorite dish?
All right. So, what tradition in our family is my grandmother's, my mom's mom, she makes a corn pudding, which is kind of like a corn casserole. I could eat the whole container full. She always makes extra for me because I get third helpings and bring some home.
Yep.
Awesome. Adam, how about yourself?
I've been a green bean casserole guy for a long time. Just can't get enough of those stupid fried French onions. They're perfect. They're very good. My mom also makes a like corn casserole pudding type situation. Big hit for me. I love eating that. It tastes even better somehow as a leftover. My stepdad hates it, so there's plenty of it for me to eat.
Yeah, that's the green bean casserole recently came into my life. I want to say a couple years ago. My
Oh
wife
yeah.
introduced me to it. That
Oh yeah.
is phenomenal.
Yeah, the French onions, I mean, are good on their own. I think the cream of mushroom, your mileage may vary, but once it all gets together, it's great. You can go back and forth. I've done it, the fresh green beans versus frozen green beans versus cans of green beans. You can do whatever you want. Still a good dish.
Yeah, for sure. I see you're getting some hits on the turkey rub down there in the chat, so a lot of interest there on how that process goes. But
Breast only, Adam? How does that work?
Yeah, mom just buys the tiny bird that doesn't have the legs and the wings. Of course, that means that I don't have enough drippings to make gravy, so it's a real nightmare, honestly. It's a sad state of affairs when you can't get enough drippings to make the gravy. But I go over the skin and under the skin with either some margarine or with some oil. It really helps make the bird moist. I was worried mom didn't take the bird out quite early enough. And when I got home on Wednesday, I touched that thing and it was feeling a little freezer burned. And I was like, all right, when did this come out of the when did this come out of the freezer? And it was pretty late, but we got it handled. We got it taken care of.
now, Adam, with you guys making yours that way, James, you guys don't deep fry your turkey, do you?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay, I was wondering if there's somebody here that did that.
Yeah, we deep fry it, and somehow my aunt brought over a turkey from the slow cooker. So we had deep fried and slow turkey. And I'm definitely more of a fan of the deep fried turkey.
I was
Awesome.
able to angle to smoke the turkey 1 year. I brought the smoker home, smoked the bird. Everything landed on time, no issues. Grandma even liked it. Felt good about it.
Yeah,
You gotta stay on top
smoking.
of the smoker.
I was just about to say, smoking seems like it would be a lot of work, but in the end game, I bet it paid off.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. It's going to take time though.
Well, awesome. I'm glad you both had a great Thanksgiving. For our listeners out there, I hope you guys also had a equally well Thanksgiving, no matter how you prepped your turkey, or if you're not a turkey person, had ham. We hope you had a great one. So, welcome back to the podcast, guys. We're going to go ahead and dive into this week in motorsports. And James, I'm going to hand it to you, man, and let you lead us off here. What did you see over the last week that kind of you want to just kind of talk about a little bit?
Well, I'm a Formula One fan, so of course that's probably where I'd like to start. They were in Qatar this week, which was a night racing in the Middle East again, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Qatar track, but it was really designed for a motorcycle track. So the F1 cars there's really not those long straightaways and long braking zones. So there was a lot of follow the leader and um, only one or two places to pass, which made for interesting qualifying. Um, I've never seen a one place grid penalty before, but for some reason, Max Verstappen slowed down in the wrong place and got a one position grid penalty, which took him off the pole and basically just put him on the other side of the track, which didn't make a difference because he went to the front and turn one, lap one. As soon as the lights went out and the race was underway. So after that, it was just a Max Verstappen show. Lando tried to keep up. Then about halfway, a couple of guys started blowing left front tires. It's a clockwise circuit, so the left front gets the most abuse. And I think two cars blew left fronts, and before they threw a safety car and let everybody change them. So those two guys got kind of screwed, having to change tires under green conditions. But I'm going to. I don't remember all the action, but there was some pretty good passing after the safety car bunched them up, and strategies were a little bit different. But yeah, Max Verstappen already won the title. Unfortunately, Sergio Perez blew up his motor, so he didn't help Red Bull get any more points. A couple of good passes. Kevin Magnussen did pretty good. Made a couple of smooth moves on the outside. Turn one was around the outside. A couple of guys seemed to be the biggest passing zone there.
Yeah, he's really looked pretty good late on this season for what that car is at this point.
Magnussen?
K-Mag. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And his last season, he doesn't have a ride next year. So we'll see if he comes to IMSA or if he goes racing anywhere else. I hope he does. He was in a Cadillac Petit Le Mans, I think 3 years ago, but that's when the Haas contract wasn't 100%. So hopefully he'll be able to come back in. I think he was driving for one of the Cadillac teams.
We definitely have Mick Schumacher re-upping on the Alpine LMDH hypercar. So
That's going to be fun.
We've got that still locked in.
Yeah, the longest Formula One season in a long time, I think, with 22 races this year. So only Abu Dhabi is next. And that's going to be pretty exciting, especially for the Constructors' Championship. Yeah, who knows where that's going to go with Ferrari, McLaren. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, the going back to the one place grid penalty, that was due to him slowing down, I believe, correct, in his qualifying lap.
On his cooldown lap.
Right, he overslowed or something and may have gotten in somebody's way. I'm not sure exactly of the wording. I didn't read the the press release or the steward's ruling, but um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I seen.
overslowing on a cooldown lap.
Yeah, I seen it affected George Russell, which I seen the fallout of that was Max basically came out and said that he's lost respect. He didn't say necessarily for George Russell, like he didn't say his name, but basically he said that the two were in with the stewards, and Russell was essentially like trying to push the issue beyond what it should have been. So he was kind of fed up with Russell going into the race, which Horner kind of pushed that narrative a little in his post race comments. But that wasn't the only odd penalty I gathered from the race. Didn't Lando get a pretty rough penalty for what he did?
Stop and hold plus 10. And that was for going too fast in a yellow flag zone.
Yeah, which
And
essentially, I think from what I gathered, it was like 40 seconds total.
right. He was running second and dropped him outside of the points, and he made it back up to, I think, 10th or 9th. Let me see if I can look at the results again.
I
But
think he
yeah,
finished 10th.
yeah, dropped him all the way out of the points, like down to 14th, and he had to work his way past back up to 10th.
Wow, that's a lot to overcome. I mean, I understand the penalty, but that does seem like a pretty harsh, a 40 second penalty for something along those lines. I'm surprised they couldn't just do like a 10-second tack on or something like that, a 10-second penalty instead of having to do
After the race.
yeah,
Yeah.
instead of having to do 40 seconds total.
Yeah.
But it's rough, man. That's the yellows running with the yellows there, and they tell you gotta achieve a certain speed or don't exceed this delta. That'd be a lot of information to try and process in them cars.
Yeah, you get a lot of data on the steering wheel that kind of tells you plus or minus from, each mini sector as it goes. So it tells you, especially under a virtual safety car, which is still kind of confusing to me, but they get a lot of information from on their steering wheel, whether they're in their window. It's more than just maintaining a pit lane speed. It's matching the distance and time in that specific sector. Then I don't know. I can't even explain it. I won't try.
So next Sunday's the finale for Formula One. Looks like Max Max wrapped up the championship in Vegas, but second place is split by 8 or 9 points, I believe.
Yeah.
Between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris. So 8 points. So it's going to be an interesting race there. Honestly, I think Lando would have to get another penalty to get a marginal gap between him and Charles, because the two of them run towards the front basically every
Yeah, but I
race.
think
anymore,
there's there's 6 and 8 points between 1 or 2 spots. So Lando still needs to get it pretty close. But again, nobody remembers who finishes second in the championship.
True.
It really is mostly about the constructors championship, which is
Man, you don't know Ferrari fans very well.
it's true. They do have a lot of seconds.
That's the constructors is what, 21 points, I believe. It looks like 21
yeah.
points.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think in both ways, I mean, you're in both scenarios, you're talking about McLaren and Ferrari. And these are both teams we've seen bungle things in the past couple of years. This new look, I mean, really a new look for kind of both teams in competence in some ways, but it's still a lot of the same people, They're going to have to not put the wrong tires on Charles' car here in this
Yeah.
final race to get those points, just it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah,
And,
it's going to be fun.
And Aaron brings up a good point about the sprint race. This was a sprint weekend, and Lando was way ahead in that one, and was told by the team to back it down a little bit to make sure that Oscar Piastri, his teammate, was able to stay in the DRS of, within 1 second of Lando leading. Again, this is the sprint race. So Lando is leading, pulling away from Piastri, who was getting challenged. And Lando backed himself up a little bit so that Piastri could get the DRS and stay in front. And then the very last corner coming to the flag, Lando lifted just enough to let Piastri by and maintain second. So that was the papaya rules according to the McLaren team orders. So Lando did give Oscar Piastri some love there. Another trophy for him. Still got maximum points for the constructors 1 and 2. So yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about, if you were the guy that got the win because somebody lifted coming to the flag? Is that kind of like an asterisk at the end of your win? I'm sure you still get the trophy, you still get the trophy girl and the money and the points, but did you really win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It's a win. I mean, it's I would rather race and get the win off of, your skill, your team's ability to get you in and out of the pits. My thoughts on it: if you can keep that DRS train going and you can keep Piastri in second, just let him run second. I don't
Yeah.
understand why he had to let Piastri win if Piastri is going to be able to bring home second, because you're still getting a 1-2. So yeah, unless there's something underlying in the points there, where it would help Piastri out with giving a buffer in the drivers' championship to whoever's in
Sure.
a position below him, which would be fifth, I think. So I don't know. I still think team orders should sit in the back pocket unless it's absolutely necessary for you to
Yeah.
like help the guy get further up in the drivers' championship. So I'd have to look at further and see exactly why they did team orders, but I say just race. If you're the fastest car, you should win.
Yeah. I think he was returning the favor from, I don't remember if it was Hungary or Brazil. Anyway, yeah, that's the McLaren papaya rules. And the other battle, my last point that I want to bring up is the constructors battle for Haas and Alpine, who are 5 points apart. And even though it's 6th and 7th in the constructors, it's still, multiple millions of dollars. So um, that's another reason for Haas to have a good weekend. And that's why they're still bringing new parts to the track, even in the last, 3 or 4 races. We'll see what happens when they run the race.
Yeah, for sure. So we good to move on to Adam here?
Yeah, absolutely. He's right here, ain't you? You still here, Adam?
Oh yeah.
All right,
All right.
just a second.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of wrapping up, getting caught up, in the end of the MotoGP season. Was a great run. The final race, Valencia flooded, so they ran in Barcelona again. Um, Jorge did hold out, so Jorge Martin did hold out and win. Benyaya kind of had some issues, especially in the sprints, where he didn't really put together good races and ended up losing there. But great finish, lots of movement. You've got Marc Marquez going to the Ducati factory bike, Anaya Bastianini coming off the factory bike. KTM is now in administration amid $3 billion worth of financial woes. And really, what does that mean for KTM and Gas, and not only in MotoGP but also in various motocross? competitions around the world. So a lot of goofy stuff going on. Should be really interesting. But I mean, I really enjoyed the season this year, through mistakes and victories and sorrows. I think Martin and Benyaya really had a great back and forth battle that lasted the entire season. I really can't ask for much more. They had a couple races where just really in the early rounds of the races, they were just giving you all of the racing you could want to see until somebody's front tire, got over PSI that was, in the window. And yeah, I just had a great time. I think there's just a lot of fun stuff. I think it's really looking up. And if we can get Honda and Yamaha to field bikes that are at all competitive, I think that we'll be in for something. I mean, really, it's just amazing looking now at how poorly the Hondas performed over the season. Like I don't really remember seeing Luca Marini in a race at all this season, and it's just incredible now thinking like what Mark Marquez was doing with that bike to even be challenging people for podiums last season. Just wild.
Yeah. When you sent that link over, it's kind of crazy to see KTM actually in such trouble financially, because that's a pretty big name at least
Right.
on the dirt side of it in motocross. I mean, when you think of motocross, it's KTM, Yamaha, and Kawasaki. Which
Right.
Kawasaki I don't think is as dominant as what it used to be, but
No, the 250 I feel like is pretty good, but the 450 program is more or less struggling, I think, with just Jason Anderson, still competitive, but aging. It's hard to say if that's the bike or, he's getting older. And then Adam Cianciarulo had injury problems and then ultimately retired before the end of the season. So, I think that they really need somebody there to figure out whether or not that bike is competitive, that 450. But yeah, I mean, it's the KTM really, I mean, in the past 30 years or so, if you're a contractor who pours concrete slabs, you've got to have a KTM. You've got to have it. And and then they really made the move with the Duke and moving into the street bikes and things like that. So yeah, really interesting, and especially with the context that there was a point where KTM was considering buying Ducati. That's pretty wild flip to go from that position to now, being on the ropes. Granted, they took themselves into administration with the courts, but they're now having to like pass all of their financial decisions through the courts. So really interesting. Curious to see how it goes. I mean, Suzuki pulled out after last season, so it's a tough go. But we have Trackhouse now, on the MotoGP grid.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody even is aware of that, as like a NASCAR fan, but like we have a US team in MotoGP now.
Yeah, I seen Trackhouse was expanding into that, which is good to see. I mean, their marketing strategy that they do across everything they're in is only gonna be good for their business portfolio. So hopefully they're successful moving into MotoGP, and they can continue to expand and kind of get that international presence that they strive for. I mean, it can only help them, right?
Yeah, I mean, you figure it goes back and forth, right? Um, I mean, there are a lot of people now, I think that people were very like regional in their F1 or NASCAR viewing, probably until very recently. People are more and more interested in global stuff and kind of breaking that open. But I think the core viewer of both of those series probably doesn't watch the other one, right? Your core MotoGP fan wearing tight jeans in Spain is probably not watching Martinsville, and your guy wearing Wrangler jeans that have holes in them to Talladega is probably not watching, what I want to say,
Barcelona,
yeah,
MotoGP.
or anything. So I think that any ability that you have to cross over. I mean, at this point, I mean, the racing fan is I don't know how much you even want to really segment them at this point. I think that especially you've seen that with IMSA. Like IMSA's growing like crazy, and other people like IndyCar are struggling to find growth and stagnating. And it's just like you just gotta find racing people and say, check this out, it's racing, man.
Hopefully, it'll
Yeah.
be good for the U.S. motorcycle fans too, to have a reason to watch the
Yeah,
top level, not
yeah. I
just
mean,
AMA. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I myself need to watch Superbike. I've not been watching Superbike. I have not watched AMA Flat Track um recently, and so I've been falling off on the American stuff myself, so I need to pick that back up.
I know we have a lot of Midwest motorsports fans that are also big time motorcycle fans of all disciplines. How did you become such a big motorcycle fan, Adam?
Yeah, I grew up in a motorcycle shop. My family sold Kawasaki, Honda, well before my time, OSA, BSA, Norton, Yankee Twins, just all sorts of weird stuff. So I grew up in the bike shop, and my grandpa promoted flat track motorcycle races. So he ran the Peoria Speedway. So we had like got a bunch of old t-shirts with like all the Hayden children, Nikki, Roger Lee, Tommy, and Jenny, from like the early 90s from amateur national events that he ran, at the Peoria. It was a little shorter than a quarter mile. He ran the Springfield Mile, brought that back in the 80s. So ran a lot of those cool races. That's back when Honda was running in flat track and had a cool project bike that they brought in to get going there. So, but yeah, I grew up at the tracks, selling programs, running around under the bleachers, riding around on the mule on the track to dig out a rut and see how the groove was coming in. So yeah, I grew up around it. Sold motorcycles as well, worked in the shop for a while. But yeah, spent a lot of time around them, and so it's weird now to be away from them as long as I have.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, if anybody has not watched flat track motorcycle racing, I implore you to at least watch a race. That is some
Yeah.
crazy watching.
Yeah, it's in a weird place, I feel like, because it was super exciting when Indian brought their new bike, because that thing was just pounding the Harleys to the point where Harley petitioned them to make a different production class because the Indian was just too beefy and strong. And then you also have a singles class now as like a feeder series. So you've got the 450s and things like that. So they're trying a number of things, and I think they're kind of struggling to find the juice. But I think that's kind of a trend we're seeing, that like dirt tracks, short tracks, local racing is having a struggle right now. Feeling those things, and they might have some benefit that a lot of those venues are the Illinois State Fair and grounds like that will just continue being alive. But yeah, man, it's a little harder now to find and to watch. And I would like to see a lot more than I do.
For
I
sure.
wish that we could, with the short attention span theater of the Americans nowadays, especially. Gosh, I sound like an old man saying that. I would love to see something like the Speedway GP, where there's 4 up racing, short races and heats, and breaking them up. I'd love to see something like that over here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you've always got. I mean, it's very much the local dirt track flavor. I mean, you've got like the dash for cash and things like that, where you get 12 bikes going 15 laps for money before the main
Nice.
event. You know what I mean? And how hard do you want to run for $2,000? Well, how many bikes did you blow up last week?
Right. Awesome.
So I'll go ahead and hit my this week in motorsports real quick. It probably won't take us too long here to get through it. So I was talking to you guys before we came on air here about the Chevy, which was the ZL1 Camaros in the Cup Series, switching over to just saying Chevrolet on the bumpers. So They don't actually have the Camaro model anymore. Everybody knew the Camaro model was discontinued, so I think they're going to wait till 2026 to come up with an actual model to replace it. But we got into the conversation of possible replacements, and the Cadillac Blackwing came up as a possible.
That's right.
Yeah, a possible, just between us hosts, a possible change,
Yeah.
which is actually, believable that it could be a different model car that they could use since it's used in other forms of racing. But you kind of hit me with the possibility of them using a Buick model, which I know initially we were like, oh, I mean, well, Buick. I didn't think they still made cars, but it's just because of the type of car they make. But maybe Buick could make a comeback, man.
Well,
Maybe
here's
they could.
here's the
Go ahead.
long game. So the Holden is out in V8 supercars. No more Holden. That's a Camaro. Well, for now, I actually don't know if they'll call it a Camaro next year. We'll have to see. But so the Holden's gone, but the Holden Commodore that they were running was a rebadged Opel anyway. Well, in our market, we have the Buick Regal, which is a rebadged Opel. So if we get the Buick Regal on a Cup car, now we're back to having a premier V8 Opel car running on the tracks, and I think that'd be beautiful. So I'd like to see that come back. I'd like to see Shane Van Gisbergen back in a Opel that's rebadged.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to see that. I could definitely, if that doesn't happen, I could definitely get behind Cadillac. Also moving into the NASCAR scene, which would be, just another community for them to run in. But I feel like it'd be a pretty sweet front end on that car.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I don't see any way that having some sort of, Equinox or crossover on that car is not met with lots of anger.
Yeah. James, you have any thoughts on where Chevy can go here in 2026?
Well, no, I'm just gonna stay tuned and watch. You know,
Not
um,
a bad idea.
yeah, it's always entertaining to me. I love the Cadillac brand, and I think that's I don't know if that's NASCAR's world or if they want to keep it separate from the top level of IMSA and the GTPs and keep the Corvette going on the Chevrolet side for GT and then more of like a sedan for family cars for NASCAR. But I
Yeah.
mean, what do I know?
I mean, the Blackwing is, you're getting over 50K
Right.
out the door there. But it's probably the only thing they make right now with a manual transmission.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'll go ahead and move into our next segment here in the Road Series.
This is Ian Bakaitis, driver of the Mission 22 BMW, and this is the Midwest Motorsports Road Series review.
Thanks, Ian. The GT4 guys were at Alton Park this past weekend or this past Tuesday, and me and Adam had the pleasure of calling an incredible race. Total domination by Chase Fincher. So congrats to him. He kind of think up the show for the lead. Um, didn't take long for him to get out to a 12-second gap and just kind of put it on cruise after that. But there was so much action in the back. Kind of don't even know exactly where to start. Adam, you've driven the track. Let's talk about the track itself first. I know you've got some experience at the
Yeah.
track, driving in the sim and stuff. So, did it live up to your expectations?
Yeah, I think right off the bat in the practice sessions, a lot of folks were having trouble with picking up little 1Xs here and there. And you can chime in as well with sort of what your experience was, but it seemed like in practice, people were having a hard time keeping the incident counter down. We saw some, triple digit incident counters in practice, which you might say, oh my God, how's that happen? But that's what practice is for, to find where those limits are and see how you can make that speed without going over there. But while I'm on that point, Chase Fincher did win that race with that lead, with that gap, with a 0x. So while everyone was worried about taking their incident points, Chase Fincher won that race without any of them at all. So that's fairly incredible. But yeah, I mean, you and I talked about it on the broadcast. There's a lot of, it's not a wide track. The runoffs are not very far before you get out of bounds over the limit. So, coming down the hill, going through the chicanes, like there's a lot of places where you can just pick up a quick 1x pretty easy. We saw a number of drive-throughs. We also saw Dustin Reinsteitel have to pit behind the pit entrance because his pit stall was so far back because it's just such a small track. Man, yeah, just a lot of really good racing. It is tough. We saw a lot of backwards cars, lots of looping out. So people were challenged, and it seems like it should be a really easy track, but you really have to flow that track, make sure that, you're going to hit that lines. There are points where in these cars you have to lift. You can't go flat out as much as you think on these cars. So more treacherous than it seems, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely intimidating from the outside looking in. It's not one of those tracks that's on the schedule every season. It may not be, show up in the officials as often as some of the other tracks. So a little unfamiliarity for everybody, and pretty narrow track, being like a quote unquote BTCC type track. But other than Chase Fincher, Travis Rowe had an awesome race out front with Michael Odell, all the way up to the first pit stop. And Chase Fincher came in 2 laps before Travis and Michael did. And Michael passed Travis 1 lap before they decided to come in for their pit stop. And Travis followed Michael into the pits. And then Travis outqualified Michael and could see when Michael dropped his jacks. They both took fronts. And Travis, even though he followed Michael Odell in, I'm sure he was looking in his mirror. And as soon as Michael Odell dropped his jacks, Travis dropped his jacks, and they were side by side coming out to the line for the pit lane speed limit line. And Travis Rowe ended up back in front, so Michael Odell had to do all that work all over again, and finally did it with a couple of incredible moves. Actually, was it Jack Lucas was catching up to Travis and Michael, and then they were going around a lap car who wishes to remain nameless, but let Travis
That was,
and Michael go.
That was the
And,
87. That was Jason.
yeah, Justin Shoop, I think. Like I said, so much for remaining nameless. Sorry, Justin. But unintentionally, well, he intentionally let second and third go, but he didn't know that fourth was right behind him. And Justin went to blend back in behind Travis Rowe and didn't realize that that he was there. So unfortunate for Lucas. No,
It was Jason Wahlberg.
yeah, yes, that's right. So, and then he gathered it back up. He ended up going in the grass and in the braking zone for the second chicane. And instead of rear-ending Travis, tried to get all of the tire stack on the inside of the first part of that chicane and ended up clipping the right rear of Travis and sending Travis into the grass after the chicane. Luckily, Travis didn't lose a spot, but he lost touch with Michael Odell and not enough laps, and the race left to make back up for it. So that was a little bit of a heartbreak for Jason Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Definitely deserved a better finish than what he got.
Yeah, that was a heroic front clip delete
yeah,
on the AMG. That was definitely, I think, in the debrief. I think that that the car he was overtaking had let Michael and Travis by, and I'm assuming his crew chief and whatnot was like, "You're clear, you're clear, you're
Clear left.
good." So he had let two cars by and was trying to get back onto the racing line, which, I mean, you really have to get in to try to open that up for that little chicane there. And just unfortunate timing that that happened to be when Jason was coming through. So that, probably down to that track being as small and tight as it is, just
Yeah.
not really a good place to do that. Just requires extra communication, I think.
Yeah, and how do you know? I mean, Jason, he saw that he let the two guys go, so he
Right.
probably thought that he was going to let me go too. But when he didn't, it's so hard to, hindsight's always 20/20.
1000%. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a heartbreak.
Yeah.
The race for first in the AM division was just as incredible with Nick Kaluguru and Nicholas Aslan. They were having a big battle. Kaluguru, well, after Ron Kabiltas, who was your points leader in the AM division, got tangled up, got two wheels off on lap one inside of Chris McDonald and caused a big kerfluffle with CJ Barzak and a couple other guys, but that was lap one. But Kaluguru and Nicholas Aslan made it through, and Nicholas Aslan was really following Kaluguru, waiting for a time to get him, and going into the 180 hairpin, I think turn 4 or 5, whichever one that is, 180-degree right with some banking. Aslan saw the door open and got into the left rear corner of Kaluguru. I don't know if Kaluguru, he's been known to drive aggressive and defensive, but he's defending the lead. So could have been net code as well. It was really close. But spun or a half spun for Kaluguru. Nicholas Aslan let him back by before the next lap. So I thought that was super respectful from Nicholas Aslan
Yeah.
to let Kaluguru back by after unintentional punt like that.
Yeah, and I think that that battle would have continued. Unfortunately, Nick Aslan, I think, picked up and hit the drive-through limit for incidents, so that
Right.
broke that battle up. But
Oh,
yeah, I think that what we saw was essentially Caligari was setting up, I think, for his normal line coming from the outside. I don't think he thought that there was any chance of Nick going up the inside and seeing that banked corner there. I think Nick saw some short track run in the line, and was ready to throttle up and go in there. But just two different ideas. It might have been a long shot, but it was a close touch, no damage done. He gave the position back. Just a shame that that those incident points probably led to breaking that
right.
battle up ultimately.
BMW versus Mercedes too. And you were in the race. I was real excited because I saw you up in fourth spot, man. I was up on the wheel giving you great credit, and then I realized that the top 12 cars had pitted and you hadn't pitted yet. But what was it like driving Rexy around?
Oh man, that track is a tough track. I found out real quick that you kind of have to respect the track more than what you think you do. That turn 3 going down the hill to that
Mhm.
left-hander, I believe it was in qualifying. I put the brakes on. There must have been like a bump or something in the track, and the whole back end of the car locked up, came around on me. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be one of these races. So,
Yeah, it seems like it should be so easy to, brake on that sloping downhill, but I mean it's stepped and
yeah,
almost in a way. So it's you kind of have to figure out where the compression is that you actually have grip, because if you're not there, the rears are locked up with no weight on them and you're going around.
yep. That surprised the heck out of me because I was coming down. I've done that corner in practice. I've done it like a couple laps in qualifying. And I'm like, I thought I hit everything exactly the same, but I guess I put just a little bit extra brake pressure into it, and it just locked it up and it came around. But the tire barriers weren't too bad for me. I don't know what it was. It was coming to the last corner, last sharp corner before the start finish line. I ended up spinning it twice. And again, it was something where wasn't modulating the brake right, and I ended up getting on the gas and upsetting the car's balance. And coming out of the corner, she just kept sliding. So, it's it's been a while since I've raced this track. When I hopped in for practice, I was talking to the Justins, and I remembered the track from when we ran the TCR League eons ago. And we ran the TCRs there. So it's been a long time, but it's definitely a tough track. Definitely commands respect.
I hope it stays on the calendar because it was a great race. Speaking of the Justins, that's a race that we've been watching across multiple seasons, actually, that Justin Thaler and Justin Glickner, I mean, not only do they work together, they live together. Some say they even share bathrooms on certain occasions. But
Who said that?
apparently, Justin Thaler and Justin Glickner still can't go a race without wrecking into each other. Did you see what happened between the two of them there, Ant? You
Oh
might have been
man,
in the. Go ahead.
did I see what happened there? That's
Fill us in. We missed it on the broadcast.
that's $1 million question. So I believe what happened was, we'll say Justin was going down into the corner,
Yeah.
and believed there was space there when there wasn't, and ended up tagging Justin,
Yeah.
which then sent Justin into a spin. See what I'm doing there? I ain't
Yeah.
assigning blame.
And this isn't the first time we've seen Justin do that.
Exactly.
With Justin. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that'll save me on the other end of things, James, where later this week where I have to race with Justin. So I won't get the wrath of Justin later this week. But
Tomorrow.
No,
No, that's right. That's right.
Because Justin's not racing tomorrow.
Right. That's right.
You see how that works? Because both Justins aren't racing either. Haha. But
Have to wait for Friday and Sunday for that.
We need more Justin on Justin crime in this league, because it's nice being able to
Have we
not
not had
assign
enough?
blame.
When does it
Never.
end?
There
When
is
does it
never
end?
enough. But no, it was just two guys racing. I don't think the space was there necessarily that the one guy thought would be there, and he just came down into Justin. So,
well, I know that Thaler ended up coming out with a good finish, the top 5, one of the few top 5s he's had all season. So good for him on that one.
Yeah, and Gleckner ended up making a comeback. I believe he came back to 9th or 10th place.
9th.
Yeah, 9th place from the back, and let me tell you, man, he was hustling through the field. After seeing him spin, because I was coming down to that corner, I was like, okay, well, I'll probably see him in about 10 laps, and I kid you not, it was probably 3 laps later. He was on the tail end of that Porsche, and I knew better. Just let him go, because he was fast. He was moving. But
he'll be missed tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, it was good to see him race back from the tail and get them spots back.
What are your thoughts about being the only admin who believes in putting color on his car? Steve, Justin's, we got white cars.
All white.
White cars with a primary color.
I would have to say that I am probably the most creative admin when it comes to the color schemes. Yeah, we'll say that. We'll say that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the Rexy just spoke to me.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it just spoke to me. So I was like, I got to run this paint. Honestly, I was expecting when I loaded into the session, Justin to berate me about running that paint scheme because it had color, but he didn't. So I was surprised.
Yeah, well, that's what all the flashers were for in your rear view.
Ah, yes. No, it was a tough race at Alton Park. Like you though, James, I do hope it stays on the schedule. I mean, it's always nice to have a challenging track, and that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, it was great. So the ending results were Chase Fincher, Michael Odell, and Jason Phillips rounded out the podium. Jason Phillips started sixth, finished sixth. Mr. Consistency still holds on to his third place in the championship. Not too far back, 400 points back from Michael Odell. So with more races left, two more races left in the season, I still think could be between the top three for the pro division. And in the AM division, Nick Kaluguru, I hope I'm saying it right, Nick. You've told me more than once how to say it. I'll probably get it right every third time I say it, but congrats on his first win in the 51 BMW. Pablo Arias second, Dustin Reinstedel third in the AM division after Nicholas Aslan had to do his drive-through for too many incident points. But that's where they ended up at Alton Park. And speaking of the race being tomorrow, we head out to Spa-Francorchamps in Germany, and we're really looking forward to some weather as well. So I think, Ant, were you able to pull out the weather outlook for tomorrow night?
Oh yeah. So if you
There it
guys
is.
are watching the stream, I have the weather outlook up for the spa race we have going on. So take this for what it is. I mean, the Tempest forecast may change.
Hard subject to change.
Yes. Yep. Like the weather people, this is probably a 25% accurate model. So it might change by race time tomorrow. So keep your eyes on your radars and take this for what it may be.
Looks like we got a clear qualifying and then light rain to start the race, and then overcast, and then more light rain. So I don't know how long that period of no rain comes, but
If I'm looking at that correctly, it looks like the tail end of qualifying is going to bleed right into the light rain. So we're
Yeah.
going to be starting the race session probably with some ponding, if
Well,
I
and
had to guess.
yeah, practice opens with moderate rain as well. So
Oh,
good point.
once you get into qualifying trim, it's not going to be what you just lapped in practice. So that could be interesting. And I think on top of all of that, this is the new layout of Spa. This might be a layout that people aren't as familiar with in iRacing. So, there could be slight differences within this. I know some people were mentioning that, different off tracks were, different than what they were used to. So with that and the rain, I mean, we might see some pain.
So it's just an updated scan, like a more current scan with different track limits, I mean, the layout itself doesn't change, right?
I think I need to check myself. But as far as I'm aware, it does, it's not a significant change, but it does materially change, some of the experience of the track, to the point where I think that adding in the rain plus, those adding a little bit of cognition that you might not be ready to to bring if you
Yeah.
didn't get enough
Something else
practice
to think
in.
about. Don't rest on your laurels. That's right. Take advantage of the practice session that your fellow league members are posting up. I know there's some going on as we speak. Hopefully somebody's listening to us and paying attention and enjoying it. Thanks to everybody for listening, tuning in while you're practicing for tomorrow night. But you're not going to miss it. 7 o'clock is when the session opens, and I think 7:25 is usually when the race starts and the broadcast goes live. So I'm really looking forward to it, Adam. Calling the races with you is a lot of fun. While you work the cameras too, that's quite a challenge. I do it myself, and I really appreciate you coming around Tuesday nights. It's been great broadcast. We've been getting a lot of comments in the chat, and appreciate each and every one of them. But a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think I just want to mention just that we're doing this primarily for the people that are in the league, so it does mean a lot to hear back from people that you guys are enjoying it, because we're tailoring it for you.
For sure. So before we wrap the podcast here, guys, Adam, do you have any predictions for tomorrow, man?
Well, so I mean, it's a race with some wet weather, so we've got right off the top, we've got some chance for Michael Odell to pull some slick tire strategy. People are already joking about that. I think, Chase has been really consistent. We've seen, Jason Phillips be very consistent in the rain. We've seen Walker McNulty make some choices to try to be the first guy on slick tires. I'm not sure if he'll join us tomorrow or not, but I think that, we'll continue to see Michael and Chase sort of play this out, and we could see it come down to a strategy decision to whether or not, who wins there. As far as for AM, I think, Nick Calaguru has been running really, really well lately. We've seen Nick Aslin challenging for the win consistently. And then, Pablo Araya has been quick. Ron Kabilti.
Ian Bakaitis.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Ian, was Ian with us at Alton? Am I wrong?
No.
Right. Okay. So hopefully Ian will be back. But again, it wet weather, it'll be down to some strategy. Keep an eye out for what everyone else is doing, and, get some good testing in to see what you think might happen and when you think you can cross over.
And I think Travis Rowe has been coming on strong lately too. So
Absolutely.
Travis Rowe, CJ Barzak likes this track a lot. This is one of those tracks where everybody loves Spa, whether it's the latest scan or not. This is one of those tracks where everybody's generally familiar with it. You can do some fine tuning with your driving line, between tonight and tomorrow. But everybody loves this track, and everybody wants to win here. So it's going to be one of those races where we could see a wild card like Jesse Coffey. I'm not sure if the McLarens are going to have the advantage with their long legs.
Yeah,
on the Camel Straight.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to think about. With the the high rev that they get into, a lot of these straights really do seem to favor that. I'm not sure how much the moisture impacts that, but I still think that probably benefits them to some degree. But I know that Chase has mentioned a number of times, just like the differentials in the front and rear tires on that car with being mid-engined can really kind of make it somewhat unstable. So could be interesting to see how that plays out.
And Chase also has not always, to his own, he admits it himself, not always made the best decisions when it comes to rain, switching tires or not, whether it's Montreal, and I hate to bring all these up, Chase, but Montreal, Sebring, even Mount Panorama, the weather seems to be a curveball, the nemesis for your points leader, Chase Fincher. So, like I say, I think anybody, it's up for the championship, Chase, Michael, and Jason. For tomorrow's race, I think really put everybody's name in a hat. You probably put 15 names in a hat and toss them up in the air and pick one.
Yeah. And to confirm that it was a brand new scan for Spa. So that's a brand new scan, including resurfacing. And then I think the point that I've seen so far is La Source through Eau Rouge and Radeon is changed. And so I think Eau Rouge is giving people some difficulties in these cars, just given what they have as far as their mechanical grip and aerodynamic grip. Keeping that thing pinned down while going up the hill might be a little interesting, especially if people come out of the pit lane.
Yeah, right. Funky pit lane exit. I'll have to make sure to remember to ask those questions in the post-race interviews. They notice the difference in the different scan. But yeah, tune in tomorrow night. It's going to be great as the Midwest Motorsports Road Series winds down with its next to last race.
Oh, awesome. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the podcast tonight. Was a great time having you here tonight, Adam. We appreciate you coming out, man, and throwing in as a host.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. We'll see you tomorrow. Don't do anything embarrassing.
Yeah. I can't guarantee anything, man. That
Yeah.
Porsche might be backwards, sideways, flying through the air.
Real quick, just one disclaimer. If I ever show you wrecking, it's not because I hate you. It's, this is for everybody. It's the story of the race, man. That's all it is. That's
Oh,
all it is. That's just the story of the race. If you wreck, I'm sorry that you did that, but we got to take a look. James and I need to know what happened because we're trying to tell that story, baby.
I was gonna say you guys probably got a lot of storytelling out of that Porsche at Road America. So
Every race has been exciting and wonderful. It's just a awesome league, man. We're having a great time.
Yeah, man.
awesome. Well, you guys heard it. Join in tomorrow, 7:25 p.m. Broadcast should be live, and bring your raincoats for the rain. But we'll catch you guys there, and don't forget, trucks are back this Friday with the patriotic 300 race. So 300 miles of Charlotte in the trucks, and then Sunday we do it again, 300 miles in the Cup car. So both long races. Make sure you guys are hydrated and ready to go. So
That's right. It is a patriotic race, so keep your heads up after, Wednesday or afterwards for a salute the veterans. A Google form I'll send out. We always like to salute our veterans on the long patriotic races. Lots of opportunity often to say thank you to our servicemen and women who protect our freedom and keep us safe. So keep an eye out for a Google form to salute a veteran in your family or somebody you know that you want to give a shout out during the stream. Me and Walker will be calling them out on Friday and Sunday as well.
all right, guys. Well, with all that information, we'll go ahead and wrap the podcast. We'll catch you all next week for another episode of the Cool Down Lap.
Don't forget to stay in your lane.